Have you ever met someone who just seems to have it all together emotionally? They remain calm under pressure, always keep a cool head, and almost seem to be superhumans when it comes to handling people, situations, and emotions. Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal the 10 habits of the most emotionally mature people. I've studied the latest psychological research and observed the habits of highly emotionally intelligent people up close, and I can't wait to share it with you. By the end of this video, you'll be able to instantly recognize what is emotionally mature and what isn't, and work on becoming more mature yourself. Stick around because this video can change your life forever and keep you out of so much trouble. Let's get to the topic. Number 1. Slow to judge. Imagine you're driving down the highway and someone suddenly swerves into your lane without signaling, nearly causing an accident. Your first reaction might be anger. What an idiot! Can't they even drive? But what if I told you that the driver was rushing to the hospital because a family member was in an emergency? Their mind was rightfully preoccupied with worry and fear. Suddenly, their dangerous driving doesn't seem so idiotic after all. The point is, most people's bad behavior boils down to them acting out of fear or anxiety, not because they're terrible people. Once you realize this, you'll find yourself less quick to judge and more understanding. It makes interactions seem less black and white. Sure, it's more complex than just writing someone off as a monster or fool, but doesn't that make the world a bit more interesting? Moving on. Number 2. People can't read your mind. Have you ever had one of those moments where you assume someone could just read your mind and then got frustrated when they couldn't? The harsh truth is that telepathy doesn't exist, at least not yet. What's going on in your head is a total mystery to others until you put it into words. As frustrating as it can be, you can't reasonably fault people for not getting your intentions until you've clearly voiced them. Expecting others to be mind readers is only setting yourself up for disappointment. The emotionally mature realize this and take ownership of communicating their thoughts and feelings effectively. Next up, number 3. Admiring the little joys of life. Have you ever gotten so hyper-focused on chasing some big, lofty idea of happiness that you missed out on all the tiny joys life offered up along the way? Maybe you thought, once I get that promotion, find the one, buy a house, then I'll be truly happy. But life doesn't work that way. As you emotionally mature, you stop putting your entire focus in grandiose dreams. You take the time to appreciate the little joys of life. You realize that satisfaction comes in increments of minutes, like a gorgeous sunrise, a good song on the radio, or a well-made cup of coffee. You go to bed contented if one day passes by in peace. You take a greater interest in flowers and in the evening sky. You develop a taste for small pleasures that were there all along if you just slowed down enough to savor them. Yep, emotionally mature people are micro-moment maximizers. Speaking of the little joys of life, how about smashing that like button? That would really make my day. Back to the topic. Number 4. Admitting you're wrong. Imagine you're playing a video game and you get stuck on a really tough level. You keep bashing your head against it, but you just can't seem to beat it. Then your friend comes over, watches you for a few minutes and says, "Dude, you're doing it all wrong. Here, let me show you." At first, your pride is bruised, but when you let your friend take the controller, you realize that sometimes you need to put your ego aside and admit you don't have all the answers. That's what emotionally mature people do. They learn to say, "You know what, I was wrong about that," without their self-worth crumbling. Shifting gears to number 5. Forgiving your parents. Let's say you're at a job you have no prior experience in. You're fumbling through tasks, making mistake after mistake, and people are getting frustrated with you. It's stressful and demoralizing. Now, imagine that job is parenthood, one of the hardest roles a person can take on. Emotionally mature individuals can step back and think they did the best they could with what they had. That doesn't excuse truly toxic behavior, but it does allow you to have more empathy for the mere human beings who raised you. Now we're at number 6, awareness of the mind-body connection. Have you ever tried to have a serious conversation with your partner when one or both of you was tired and hungry? I know, it isn't the best experience. Imagine there's a legendary creature known as the Hangry Hulk. This beast remains dormant and harmless until it gets hungry, angry, or tired. The halt triggers. Then watch out! The smallest thing can set off an epic rampage of irrational yelling and smashing. Your loved ones don't actually turn into green, muscle-bound monsters, hopefully. But when their basic needs aren't met, they're a lot more likely to blow their top over minor issues. So yeah, you get it. Things like sleep, PMS, work levels, blood sugar, and alcohol levels have a tremendous level of impact on your body. And an emotionally mature person makes sure to never bring up big issues when they're drunk, tired, in a rush, or hungry. Then we have number 7, falling in love slower. Remember when you were younger and could develop a crazy crush on someone within literally seconds? Maybe it was a cute barista or the hottie sitting across from you in lecture. You'd build up this idealized fantasy of how perfect they were based on practically nothing. Well, an emotionally mature person falls in love a bit less easily. They develop loyalty to what they already have, rather than constantly chasing new, lust-fueled infatuations. I'm not saying they're incapable of feeling intense attraction or love, but they rather approach it with patience, allowing feelings to develop organically and deeply over time instead of creating a fantasy world in their head. This shift signifies a deeper understanding of love, one that values commitment and a genuine connection over the fleeting rush of feelings. It's understanding that real love doesn't happen like in the Hollywood movies. It grows slowly as two people get to know each other better. Moving on. Number 8. Less of an I'm better than you attitude. Have you ever caught yourself judging someone for being moody, messy, or just generally hard to deal with at times, only to then realize you can be pretty frustrating to live with too? It's a humbling wake-up call. Let me give a simple example to really drive it home. Let's say you move into a new place and your roommate is super annoying. They're sloppy, loud, and always leaving dirty dishes in the sink. You start compiling a list in your head of all their flaws and bad habits. But then one day, you really look around and your stuff is strewn everywhere. You binge shows at top volume and you're basically a moldy dish hoarder too. Whoops! An emotionally mature person knows that they are in fact a difficult person to live with. You shed some of your earlier sentimentality towards yourself. Emotionally mature people can take an honest look at their own shortcomings, instead of stubbornly insisting they're the perfect angel. It's like saying, I'm a work in progress, and here are my current areas needing improvement so you know what you're getting into. Having that self-awareness and vulnerability is a sign of emotional maturity. And that brings us to number 9, authenticity. Most teenagers are constantly self-conscious, worrying about what everyone thinks of them and how they look, how their photos look on social media, even taking hours to edit themselves before posting a photo, and so on. For an emotionally mature person, what people think of them isn't much of a concern. You give up on craving fame and public adoration and start to rely on love from a small circle who really know and accept the real you. Emotionally mature folks choose to invest in genuine bonds over shallow crowd-pleasing. Last but not least, number 10. Be your own best friend. Imagine you have a dear friend who is absolutely beside themselves over a mistake they made. Despite your reassurances, they keep beating themselves up over it. You'd probably say something like, "Dude, you're being way too hard on yourself. It happened. You learned. Now let it go." Applying that same compassion towards yourself can be difficult. As you emotionally mature, you learn to forgive yourself. You realize it's pointless to keep carrying around your load of past misdeeds. You can't be a true friend to others until you're a friend to yourself. And you can't love others properly until you love yourself first. After all, if you can't accept and live with your own mistakes, how can you do the same for someone else? So, let me ask you, are you a friend to yourself? Of course you're a total clown sometimes, but hey, you're still a lovable one. Own your mistakes, recognize we all screw up, and move forward with self-compassion. It's about being kind to yourself, not giving yourself a free pass for crummy behavior. A little self-love goes a long way. And that's how you develop the habits of emotionally mature individuals. If you found value in this video, don't forget to leave a like and share it with someone who could benefit from these insights. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in another video exploring more habits of emotionally mature individuals.